UBT's Action Line Podcast is a production of UBT Media. Welcome to UBT's Action Line Podcast, powered by Sweet Patina. I'm your host, Robbie Purser. In this podcast, we dive deep with those who share a love for classic trucks and like to have some good old-fashioned automotive fun through storytelling, truths, and maybe even a few exaggerated tales. Be sure to stick around for the Action Line Anatomy segment fueled by Auto Metal Direct. We just might learn a thing or two. Today's guest is Josh McPherson from Yeah Buddy Garage. Josh is a rising star in the automotive YouTube world and is a fun-loving, road-tripping family man. Through this chat, we come to realize that we have a lot of similarities in our paths to automotive media and even pull back the curtain a little bit on the successes and struggles that come along with it. Josh is probably most well known for his OBS dually pace truck, his 67 Patina C10, and his slick two-wheel drive square body Blazer. We're going to get into it all in this episode, so I hope you stick around. And hey, if you're looking for patina care products like patina sauce, Century Polish, Happy Ending Quick Detailer, which is a personal favorite of mine, or even some professional quality paint products like matte clear or satin black, acrylic urethane, or even some killer automotive merch, check out sweetpatina.com. Use the code UBT5 for a discount at checkout. Let's get into the episode. What's up, man?
Not much, man. How are you?
I'm pumped to have you here today.
Yeah.
And we're gonna just start this over because I start these a little bit differently.
Okay, yeah, man. You do them however you want. Yeah.
I'm just checking your.
I thought you were Joe Rogan, like, yeah, man, what's up? And then it's just like diving into.
Oh, we'll do that. We'll do that too. Josh McPherson, Yeah Buddy Garage. Glad to have you here today, man. How you been doing?
Good, man. Good. Got a lot going on.
Yeah, you do. Tell everybody at home what you've been doing today.
So today I left Daytona Beach at about I've left Daytona Beach at about 8 a.m. and have been on the road for like 6 or 7 hours in the Blazer.
And drove straight here.
Straight here.
Where you headed?
I'm headed to the, dang it,
GM Tailgate Tour.
GM Tailgate. I got so many shows in my head, man.
I know.
It's like GM Tailgate Tour 2025 going to Sevierville.
Yeah.
So we talked about maybe me crashing here this evening or driving through. So I don't know.
Which
if
the welcome, the invite is still open, man.
Yeah, no,
we got burgers and everything. But if you need to go, I get it.
Yeah, I don't. It's like sometimes I get in the mode where I'm like, I gotta drive.
Well, and you booked a hotel room.
I did.
So you have a hotel room for tonight and tomorrow night, same hotel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's how this works. So, you mind telling everybody at home, because I have not done this yet. I'm going, so I leave in the morning, but you've done it.
Yes.
Tell everybody what Tailgate Tour is. GM Tailgate Tour is.
GM Tailgate Tour is the brainchild of Brian Ashley, who runs SCTN.
Yep.
He does Truck in the Trace. So he's kind of taken those two events and thrown them together, and it's a GM only rolling truck show.
Yeah.
And you got 5 cities over 5 days, and he plans the routes to where you have cool stuff to look at on the way.
Yeah.
And you're not rushed like the Power Tour. I think I've talked to you about this before.
Yep.
Where it's like the Power Tour, it's like you get up at 6 a.m. and you get on the road and you go, and there's so much traffic.
You're just hustling.
Yeah, you're hustling all day. Then you get to the venue, you check everything out. This is like, it's laid back. Like one day last year, I saw like 4 waterfalls in one day.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've seen that many in like, in
maybe
a year.
ever.
Yeah, or maybe ever, you know? But it was just so cool, and I was like, yeah, I'm hooked.
Yeah.
So actually we're not doing the Power Tour this year because we're doing the Tailgate Tour.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited, and really the reason I'm excited, we'll get into your whole YouTube history and your automotive history. We're going to take it all the way back to when you were a kid.
All right.
And how you got into all this. But one of the reasons that really made me want to go was watching you fix sandwiches on the side of the road I think you were in the dually?
Yeah.
Were you in the dually when you went last year?
So that was the Power Tour.
Oh, when was the one? What were you in on the Tailgate Tour?
I had the Blazer.
You were in the Blazer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
I got that confused. I must have got that confused somehow.
I just do so many road trips.
But
man.
you were definitely in the mountains.
Oh yeah.
You were in the mountains. I'm pretty sure this was Tailgate Tour. I'm probably just confusing the vehicle, but you were just looked like you were having a ball. Y'all were lots of back roads, lots of state highway type stuff.
Yep.
Which is the cool thing about the Power Tour, but I think that Brian has something really cool going with the Tailgate Tour because of the routes, because of where it's being held, and like you said, he's got stops and like stops planned, and I've noticed that even as he's been promoting this, he's like, if you get here early, check out these 5 places.
Yeah.
I mean, what kind of, like, that's some concierge
He puts a
service
lot of thought
right there.
into it. A lot of thought.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not like, oh, just go out there and find whatever you want to do. It's, hey, so we drove this route. Here's where we ate. Here's some cool spots we saw. And he shares all that information with you.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah, because he did actually just drive it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He just went and drove the whole route.
yeah, I think he drives it multiple times too. I think he drives it to kind of figure out where he wants to go.
Yeah.
And then they do it again to make sure everything's good. There's no construction. And then they just kind of dial in what they want to share with everybody. It's really cool, man.
Man, this is going to be so much fun.
I don't know how he has time to do it.
Me either. I don't
He's
either.
running SETN, trucking
Yeah.
the trays. He's still a full-time
Policeman.
police
Yeah.
officer. And it's like, dude, I think he's actually a detective. He
Yeah.
might get mad that I called him a police officer.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Ashley.
He'll be all right. He's got thick skin.
Yeah, he does.
Well, I'm super excited to go. I hope we get to cruise some, whether
we will.
you don't stay tonight or we meet up tomorrow. I'd really like to make some content together while we're on the road.
Yeah.
Get that Blazer rolling.
Yeah,
you know,
man.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, vice versa.
Yeah. So I think there's the other cool thing about it is we have a lot of friends who are going,
Yeah.
a lot of folks that watch our channels that are kind of in our orbits who are going to be doing this thing. And I think that's super cool. I'm excited to just go hang with people and drive around the
Right.
Southeast.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, it's going to be rad.
it's going to be so rad.
Yeah.
Well, moving away from the Tailgate tour, let's talk a little bit about you and Yeah Buddy Garage. I want to hit sort of lay the groundwork on what the channel is, how long
Yep.
you've been doing it, and then, like I said, we're going to take it back even farther and talk about how you got into automotive stuff.
Yeah, man. So, well, Yeah Buddy Garage is basically has been a lifelong journey. So it all kind of makes sense. Like when we do go back and I start when I was a kid and where I'm at now. But basically, I had met some contacts with Street Trucks Magazine. Chris Hamilton was the editor. He needed help at an event, LST, in like 2020, like right before the COVID pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And I have a video and editing experience with what I did when I was in real estate. I was a mortgage loan officer for 8 years. And
the Florida mortgage dude,
the Florida
right?
mortgage dude,
yeah,
the shotgun,
yes.
yeah. So I'm always been into marketing and branding, and I got into cameras and recording mainly because of that. I've always had an interest, but never a reason. And now I had an interest, a reason, and a budget to go out and buy nice equipment, and then start making all these funny videos, serious videos. And then I started shooting at, I think it was the Turkey Run where I first met Rick after I saw United by Trucks.
Yes.
I was a subscriber when you were at like 30 or 40,000.
Yeah.
So Whitlock Garage days.
Yeah.
And I was witnessed the transition into United by Trucks. And
that would have been in the first year.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So-
awesome, man. Old school.
Old school, man. And so once I did that, I was like, I could do this, you know, like with you running out and doing the shows, recording the videos, recording you in the garage.
Yeah, man.
And then I got this opportunity with Street Trucks. We went to LST, had a great time, and they said, hey, can you help us with our YouTube channel? And I was like, yeah. Well, fast forward like 2.5 years, I was like, man, this is cool, but I want to do it on my own, and I want to do more than just trucks. I want to do like everything.
Yep.
So then that's where Yeah Buddy Garage came. So I try to, like, when I'm explaining the channel to non-car people, I try to tell them I rebuild, modify, and road trip classic cars and trucks across the country. And I felt almost guilty, not guilty, but I felt like I couldn't say that. It wasn't validated until we drove to California and back in my dually. And now I'm like, yeah, we rebuild, modify, and road trip cars and trucks all across the country.
I know. I'm sitting here thinking, why would you not feel like that would be credible or valid? 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, you've burned up the roads.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
even since I've known you, I mean, you're out there tearing it up, like really getting after it. You have any idea how many miles you've done in classics? I have no idea. So I'm just curious if you do.
So the Blazer I know has 30,000 on it from me. The dually's got 25, 20, actually maybe almost 30 now from me. So I mean,
That's 60,000 right there.
60,000 right there. Plus,
Yeah.
you know, we did the power tour in my 67.
Yep.
Plus, we've, you know, taken the van on the power tour, which is
an interesting vehicle.
I know I put 10,000 miles on that in less than a year. So it's got to be 100,000 in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Just-
Isn't it so much fun doing that, though?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I think that's one thing that I wanted to show on my channel is not even really the show side of it, even though that sort of just happened because we're oftentimes building these things or putting these trucks together to go to a show or to go, to an event. But I wanted to show people that you can drive these trucks with or without air, with or without wipers. You know, like it just sometimes it's in the suck for sure.
Oh yeah,
but really, but. Like you can drive these old trucks a long way,
right?
And they'll do it. I mean, even if you don't have an LS, they'll still go. I mean, that's how our parents or grandparents got around back in the day.
Yep.
Carved classics. They weren't classic at the time, but they were carved for sure.
Yep.
So I admire you so much for doing that. I think it's so cool, and you've done a really, really killer job doing it. Let's rewind the clock. You just mentioned it. I feel like there's something there that we can really dive in on, and it's how you grew up.
Yep.
Were you into automotive stuff? What was your sort of automotive history landscape looking like?
So grew up in Central Arkansas.
I did not know that.
So that's like truck capital of the Southeast right there. Farm trucks, lifted trucks, and even lowered trucks back then. They were kind of like in that 90s boom because I was born in the late 80s. So OBSs were like
sport truck era.
Oh, man, yeah. I loved them.
Yeah.
And so I grew up in a little town. It's called Cabot, Arkansas. And I remember my buddy, actually before that, my grandfather used to run a little mechanic shop next to his house. And he worked for GM for a long time. He was like the parts manager over there. That was before I was born. But then by the time I could remember him, he was, tinkering with cars and stuff. And they had like kind of like a little junkyard of just like, I remember they had a gold long bed square body. That was like the first truck that I drove. And they just had like a collection of stuff.
How old were you when you drove that?
Oh, I had to have been 7 or 8.
Love it.
Like way too young to be behind the wheel of a heavy truck.
I feel like I drove my first square body K20 Cordova Brown. I remember it very specifically.
Yeah.
I think I was probably 8 or 9, and I just drove it across the cattle pasture.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Well, actually, I probably wasn't even 8 or 9. I couldn't reach the pedals at all.
Right.
And so we were just crawling, in first gear and granny gear, and I'm just driving, sitting sitting on the seat,
feeling like the man too, right?
Feeling like I was doing something.
Yeah.
Really doing something. Yeah. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, man. So so that was like my first experience with trucks. Because that's the first truck I drove was a 76 I think it was a C20.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, when my great grandmother passed away, I'm actually fortunate enough that I had all my grandparents growing up, and I knew my great grandmother. She passed away when I was like 13.
Wow.
So when she passed away, my dad inherited her 1966 Chevelle Malibu. And that car he still has it, but by the time he got it, it was destroyed. So I grew up watching Power Block TV with like Stacy David.
Yeah.
Like they're going in, they're tearing these motors apart, they're rebuilding it. And, they have all these shows about rebuilding cars. So I remember watching Power Block TV and looking at the Chevelle like, this is what I want to do. And I don't know, you remember weird stuff as a kid.
Totally.
So whenever the weather gets like it is now, where it's just perfect outside, it just reminds me of my dad changing oil in the driveway, doing basic maintenance on the car, rotating tires. Like this to me is like the time of year to be working on your stuff. You know,
or driving it,
or preferably driving it.
Well, that is awesome. So when did you leave Arkansas?
So we moved to St. Augustine, Palm Coast, Florida. I actually live in Palm Coast. I say Daytona just because everybody knows where that's at.
Yeah, more recognizable.
Exactly. So we moved to Palm Coast when I was 15, and my dad brought the Chevelle over. I was in high school, so I got my first job at Albertsons, got my driver's license. I was driving his 93 Pontiac Bonneville.
Yeah.
That pewter silver color with 4-door, the velour interior. Love that car, man.
Probably rode like a dream,
Oh,
too.
dude, it did.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We did things we shouldn't have done to that car, but like it took it like a champ.
Yeah.
And I saved up $2,500 and bought a 1971 C10 from a military member at the Jacksonville Air Force Base.
No kidding.
And it was...
How old were you when you did that?
I was 17.
17.
That was my first C10.
I bought mine when I was 18. I love this. Like, this is cool how we have similar trajectories from an automotive perspective in some way, except I paid $1,000 for my C10.
Yeah.
But I couldn't drive it home. It was 3 on the tree.
Yep,
My dad had to drive it home.
Yeah.
But man, so you bought your first C10 when you were 17.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and the reason I wanted that 67 to 72 was because a couple years before we moved, I have a really good friend in Arkansas. We still talk to this day. We actually grew up playing guitar with him, and we were in bands and stuff. And
yeah.
So we were out. I can't remember what town it was. It could have been like England, Arkansas, just like middle of nowhere, just quiet little town. And his mom went into the store to get something. He was like, "Hey man, come check this out." And he took me out back, and he showed me a green and white 72 CST. Just like it was open, so we hopped in it. We were acting like we were driving it. We were 12 or 13, you know? And I was like, I love this truck.
Yeah.
I love it. So that was like, when I get my first job and I can save my money, I'm buying a C10.
Yeah. So that right there, when you were 12 or 13 in Arkansas, is what got your love of 67, 72 trucks going.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
It sounded like you probably already loved classics even before that.
Oh yeah. We would go to like car shows and stuff. And, but when I started really thinking about what I wanted to buy, I remember I was looking at Firebirds and C10s.
Firebird, like first gen.
First gen.
They're 60 in the late 60s.
I think it's 67. I think they came out like right around the same time Camaros did. Camaros was way too expensive for me. Yeah. I might be able to get a Firebird.
Man, I saw so this has been 5 years ago probably, but like we're in that era of classic trucks that the first gen Camaro Firebird sort of range was, and maybe still is. I mean, but the height of popularity on those things is just, it's been crazy. Here, and it's probably still there. But I remember running across I think it was actually when I was still cruising Craigslist, running across a 68, I want to say, first gen Firebird in a basement here in Marietta for $5,000, all original paint. And I remember thinking, I wish I had $5,000.
Yeah.
Like I would
snag it up.
That car is probably worth $15,000.
Right.
And it wasn't even there a day. Like the ad was gone the next day. But I just remember thinking, oh man, that was the closest I probably had ever come to getting like just even having an opportunity, because most of the time they're just too far out of my out of my price range. But I was like, man, I might have been able to scrape some pennies together quick enough to get that thing.
They're cool, man.
Yeah.
They're cool.
And I mean, I think that's what kind of got me going into trucks, is that 6 years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I guess 2012 is when I really got back into them after college. But you could still pick a truck up for $1,000. You could find a crazy deal for $500 sometimes.
Yep.
So you mentioned you paid $2,500 for your 70. You said it was 71 C10?
That was a 71.
Yeah, 71. What is the lowest you've ever paid for a truck? And I'll tell mine too.
That might be it.
Yeah.
Because that was, but now that truck.
I was going to say, tell me about this truck then, because $2,500 back then, that must have been a good truck.
2004, 2003. It was a 1980s, 1990s resto, and the front was white, and it had these orange and yellow like kind of lightning bolts. Yeah. And the back half was purple.
So very like Pro Street 80s.
Yeah, like you could not miss this truck.
Yeah.
But it still was straight six. They moved the 3 on the tree to the floor, so I couldn't leave Palm Coast. Now I would. I'd be like, I'm driving
this thing anyway, just like you did your dually.
That's right. That's another story we'll talk about.
That is another story.
But yeah, man, that was a cool truck. And Lauren remembers my wife and I, we went to high school together, and we dated a little bit, and we got back together when she was in college. But she remembers riding around in that truck, and her dad is a truck guy. He's a Ford truck guy.
I know.
It's cool. It's cool.
One of your coolest videos is, would y'all do, revamp that truck and get it back running?
Yeah, it sat for 8 years after he passed away. And, maybe it was, it was his 10-year anniversary of him passing. Uh-huh. And we got it running again and took it to the Daytona Beach Turkey Run, which was like, he was a part of the Daytona Beach Street Rods that worked the event.
Oh, okay, cool. So he was ingrained in that community down there.
Yeah. When we were first married, I remember going out working. It's called Gate 70.
Yeah.
It's the gate that goes over right before turn 3 where all the show cars come in.
Yeah.
I'd get out there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd open the gate with him. I'd be taking people's money at the turkey run, and he'd be yelling at people that weren't,
doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So it was Great memories.
What
Great memories.
before we move off of that? What year is what is that truck?
So that is a '56 F100. So it's the big fender, and it's black on black with 15-inch Craigers.
Yeah,
and they're polished.
Ooh,
and it's in like
a pain to keep clean, but man, they look good.
Yeah. But it's still in. So my mother-in-law, she lives in the same house, and he added a massive 3-car garage. So they have a 5-car garage there, and that truck sits in a bubble just in the garage, and it only comes out a couple times a year.
Yeah.
So that was very special because that truck hadn't run in 10 years, and we got it running, fired up, and then Lauren got to drive it into the turkey run.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. And that video is on your channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Buddy Garage.
Yep.
On YouTube. So go check it out.
Check it out.
A lot of other stuff there. We'll get to the plug-in here at the end.
Yeah.
But so you had the 71 C10, $2,500, killer sounding sort of pro street type truck.
Yeah.
You said 3 in the floor, straight 6, cool sort of 80s, 90s paint job.
Yeah.
What else do you remember about the truck?
It had some beat up Craigers on it.
Yeah.
Like the old school, like bubble Craigers, you know?
Yeah.
And man, I just remember like we would just like take that truck all over town, man. Like, but we couldn't do anything like, bad because everybody knew who it was.
Oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like that white and purple truck was there. We know that was the McPherson boys getting in trouble.
That's so funny, man. So funny. And you couldn't go do stuff out of town because no overdrive.
I couldn't drive out of town.
Yeah, you couldn't drive out of town.
So my parents, they had it made. Yeah. That was right when cell phones were starting to come out. Or not really social media yet, So
yeah, you weren't doing anything wrong in that truck. They were going to figure you out.
They were going to find out.
Yeah. Well, so I know I keep equating our stories a bit, but I bought my first truck when I was 18, tore it apart, thinking I was going to restore it the summer between senior year in high school and freshman year in college.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy John tore it apart in my garage. I ended up selling it in pieces. But that was the truck that, just put me over the top with 6772s.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not have another classic truck for a while, probably till after college, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then really got into it heavy again with the Forum and 2011, 2012 timeframe. What about you? How long did you have that 71? And then what did you have after that?
So, again, I think it's funny. Like we have very similar timelines.
Yeah.
Like, especially because both like heads of state for CT Club in our respective states and doing the YouTube and I feel like
I know it is
it's very eerie.
And you're and I've fallen into talking about this with other people who've sat in that chair. How old are you?
I just turned 38.
38, and I'm 41, so I'm just a couple of years ahead of you.
Right.
So okay.
Right.
So yeah, we're coming up in that same time frame.
Yeah.
Doing similar things around the same time.
Exactly. So it's like very similar thing happened to me. That 71, I had it for maybe 4 years total. But after high school, I ended up buying a 2004, Silverado because I was making a little bit of money.
Yep.
And you could actually kind of buy a new truck back then and not pay out the nose for it.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm going to restore this truck. Remember watching Power Block TV? Those guys made that look so easy, man.
They did.
Welding and painting. Dude, that was nothing. I took that truck apart. It never went back together.
Yeah.
I sold it for like $1,000 and went out and I bought a SIG 1911, which was a sweet trade, but like looking back, shouldn't have taken it apart.
Yep, same.
But then again, like about 7-8 years went by, and I actually bought a 68 C10 I'll tell you about this plate I have. So when I was 28, I bought my next C10.
Yep.
It was 68. It was out of Georgia. It was a little rough, but I paid like $5,000 for it. It was a little nicer. It had overdrive. You could we took it to the turkey run. We drove it around and took that truck apart, sold that. And then I was like, this is like ridiculous.
What am I doing?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
So I got a plate because at these big car shows, you can get antique plates in Florida. You can tag them up to like, I think it's like 1978 or something.
I think it's similar here. I can't actually remember, but
yeah, but you can get the old plate from. So it's Florida has a 67, 68 plate, and the numbers on it are GK 1728.
Oh, you mean that they'll issue you a plate that has that your correct year range, or you can take a vintage plate?
Yeah, if you can find a vintage plate that has not been registered,
yes,
you can register it to your classic.
Oh, but it has to have not been registered before. Okay.
Yes.
So we can register old plates here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like that 63 plate that's hanging right next to you.
Yeah.
Even if it's been registered before, I could take that plate and re-register it in.
Okay, yeah. Florida's a stickler, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. North Carolina I found is like the most lax.
Really?
They because I was Casey Harris's
Yep.
truck. I was looking over that and I'm like, that tag doesn't look right. And then he was showing me the truck we were walking around and he flipped the seat up and he had a brand new North Carolina tag like tucked away in the seat. And then when we got done shooting, I was like, what is that?
They're linked.
Yeah. He was like,
that's how Georgia does it.
He was like, oh yeah, I can use my antique tag. And then if I get pulled over or I need to show my registration, I'll just pull out my real tag and then they use that to check everything.
That's exactly what I do in Teddy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Same in Georgia.
man. That's cool, man.
Yeah, so they would link. So I guess I should be more clear. They would link that 63 plate to a modern plate. And I guess that's how they get around the registration. Because you're registering actually a modern plate, a new number and sequence.
Yeah.
But you're tying it to a vintage plate.
Yeah, yeah. So Florida, like that is your plate. Like if you can find one, which you can usually find one, but it's the numbers on that one is GK 1728, and I was like so pumped I found that because I bought my first one at 17 and my second one at 28.
Very cool.
I'm a numbers guy, you know.
Yeah.
And so like I don't know if I could ever register that but I might though because my 67 that's going to be my forever truck.
Yeah.
I'm never selling that truck.
So. Another similar thing, and I'm just going to stop pointing this out after this point right here.
Keep it going.
But, well, you tell us about the truck, and then I'll tell everybody else what I think about. So
we'll hop over the Blazer because the Blazer I bought, my 79 Blazer, out of Texas, it was basically done. And I did some little stuff to it. I haven't really done a whole lot, but I found
you changed some wheels up on it, and that was the biggest improvement you've made. I love that thing for those wheels.
Yeah, the wheels on it now
they changed it, and they're what?
They are the Corsart Kingpins. Yep. And dude, they are nice.
They look great on that Blazer.
Yeah, and I've actually found a new tire that has been able to hold up to the road trips that I do.
Oh yeah, okay.
So I'm a big fan of Nittos.
Yep.
So you're sponsored by Continental?
That's right.
Okay, so we're gonna cut that part out.
You can talk about it. It's fine. It's all
I need to give a Continental and put their stuff to the test.
Continental makes the best tire.
They do.
But if you found a good tire, that's okay.
Yeah. Well, with these heavy trucks, man,
I know, it's
the
true.
dualies and stuff. So the Nitto 420Vs are rated for 1-ton vehicles, and they're a low profile.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a blowout in one yet.
I bet.
But I've had blowouts in other tires.
Yeah.
No Continentals though.
Tires are, man. You and I could definitely, and next we'll do this on the next time we sit down. We'll talk about road trips. We'll talk about road trip essentials. We'll talk about all the stuff that we've learned on road trips because I think that would be so helpful to people because we both had terrible things happen to us. You probably a little more than me recently.
It's unreal.
I hope I don't have one on this this trip this week, but yeah, I think just even talking about those little things like that people may not think about. Oh, I got new tires, but do you have the right tire?
Right.
You know, that kind of thing.
Exactly, man.
So the 67 C10.
Yes, sir. 67. So the Blazer got me back into it. That's what got me excited about C10s. I was trying to find, people to hang out with. There was no C10 Club Florida at the time. It was dissolved. So I met Chaz, happened to meet Chaz somewhere. I don't remember how.
Yeah.
And he got me connected with the C10 guys. And anyway, so I got into that. And then now that I was I had connections and, some support, now I found a Patina 503 light green, 1967 short bed fleet side, and it was a part. And I was like, this is it, man.
I don't think I remembered that.
Mm-hmm.
So the truck was in pieces when you bought it.
Yep, it was in pieces.
So you actually did the reverse of what you'd done before, where you take them apart and sell them. Now you're buying them in pieces.
Yeah,
which is great.
so that was after the LST trip with Street Trucks.
Mm-hmm.
So once I had kind of done some YouTube stuff with them, I was like, hey, we need to have some kind of show where we take parts and put them on a vehicle and then put them to the test. And they were like, okay. So I said, I found the 67. This is what I'd like to do. And I kind of ran through some ideas, and we worked with a bunch of companies on that one and pretty much started kind of like a builder series with them, which they'd already done it, but this was more involved because you were going from start to finish.
Right.
And so I had a LS1 that I'd been, waiting to put in something. So I put my LS1 in there. It's 4L60. It's the original 373 posi rear.
Oh man, and it's a narrow rear.
And it's a narrow rear.
Yeah, so you got the early 67 to 70.
Yep.
So that rear end is
it's
I've
tough.
I've had one of those before, and sold it. I shouldn't have, but I sold it, and they are worth some money.
Yeah.
I mean, an original posi 373 narrow, early year rear end.
Yeah.
Those things are awesome.
I mean, it's great. It sat for so long though that the clutches never unseized. Not all of them did in the posi. So like it'll pop when you turn it, But, you just put up with it.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's a good candidate for rebuild one day. It still
Right.
makes it cool though.
It still does crazy burnouts, dude.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. We'll get to that part too, because you, actually, let's get to that now. So that truck is you said LS1 4L60 posi 373.
Yeah.
And when we were at Pro Touring Truck Shootout last year, so in 24, you were beating that thing to death.
Yeah.
Why were you doing that?
That's why I built that truck, man. I wanted to just beat the snot out of it.
Yeah.
And that truck, because I got linked up with street trucks, has some really nice parts on it. And because of that, and because I had the support from street trucks and the companies that worked on it, I named that truck Project Last Chance.
Yeah.
Because I was like, if I can't build this truck with all the support and all these eyeballs like on this build, I'm gonna throw in the towel.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna buy them built. And there's no shame in that, man.
No, there is not.
There's not.
No shame.
But to build something and drive it is great. So Pro Touring Truck Shootout was why I built that. And this truck was originally supposed to be built in phases, but we never got to the next phase. So phase 2 was suspension and brakes.
I see.
And then phase 3 was forced induction.
Yeah.
So we got all the cruising stuff on it, right? I got vintage air. We got retro sound radio. I mean, it's great, man. It's a great cruiser, but it's still an LS1. So I pulled the LS1 out recently, put in a BTR cam, and now that I know that you're with TIC, I should have bought the UBT
That's okay.
TIC cam package, but that came out very recently. Though,
yeah, it did, like just months ago.
Yeah. So I'm gonna grab one of those cams and throw
That'd
it.
be awesome.
Yeah, man.
I'd love that.
So, but once I did that, I was like, all right, we're gonna start moving on to phase 2. Before I do phase 2, I'm gonna just I got to take it to an event and just beat on it and see if it takes it. And it did until we lost second gear.
Yeah. The old 4L60 will bite you.
Yeah. But the crazy part is I lost second gear, and I thought, so I had it in open loop learn because it has the Holley Terminator X Max ECU on it. The open loop learn, because I just left it in second gear and was doing autocross, I thought adjusted the shift patterns. So that trip, I was supposed to tow that truck to Bowling Green, do the event, and then tow it back with my OBS dually.
Yep.
But the OBS dually started to overheat in the mountains because I was having some issues with it.
Yeah,
got it figured out. That truck's for sale, but we got that figured out.
Yeah, you're all figured out on that thing. All right, guys, it's time for the Action Line Anatomy segment fueled by Auto Metal Direct. This week, we're decoding 67 to 72 C10 VIN numbers. This topic is one that broke my understanding of these trucks wide open, especially the configurations from the factory, motor, place of manufacture, and drive. This week, we're going to look at 2 very different VIN examples and break them down. I've got a bunch of notes here, so just bear with me. This is a really interesting topic that I think you guys are going to love hearing more about. Tapping into my favorite online 67 to 72 GM truck encyclopedia, we rely on 67 to 72 ChevyTrucks.com as well as GMCPauls.com for this segment. They have the 6772 Chevy Trucks has a Chevy online decoder, and GMC Pauls has a GMC online decoder. So for the Chevy Trucks, like I said, I'm using 67 to 72 ChevyTrucks.com/Chev, CHEVYEAR. And for the GMC trucks, I'm using GMCPauls.com/67 to 72, so 67-72 _GMC. The first example is one of my personal 4x4 trucks from 67 to 72, and I'm going to start by just telling you what the VIN is and then kind of laying out what each digit means for that specific VIN. So for this truck, it's KE247Z, and then it's got 6 digits after that is the serial number that are really less significant for this topic. So it's the first 6 numbers that are the key identifiers in this segment. So for example, the first digit is the chassis designation. The second digit is the engine. The third digit is the gross weight rating. The fourth digit is the model code or bed configuration, I like to call it. Fifth digit is the year, and sixth digit is the assembly plant. And this is for a Chevrolet truck. We'll get into GMC in just a second. So for this specific truck, reminder, KE247Z are the first 6 digits of the VIN. This is a 4-wheel drive V8 3/4 ton pickup bed, fleet side in this instance, 1967, built in the Fremont plant. So the K correlates to the 4-wheel drive, the E correlates to the V8, the 2 correlates to 3/4 ton, the 4 correlates to pickup bed, 7 correlates to the year, 1967, and Z correlates to the plant assembly, Fremont. For the second example, we're looking at one of my favorite GMC trucks I own. It is a 2-wheel drive, I'll go ahead and tell you that. But this VIN you'll hear sounds a little bit different than the Chevrolet VIN. This VIN is CM10DPB, and then the last 5 digits of this VIN are the serial number. So the first 7 numbers in the GMC VIN in this specific year are the key identifiers for the GMC trucks. So the first digit for GMCs are the chassis the chassis designation. The second digit is the engine. The third digit is the gross weight rating. The fourth and fifth digits together are the model type, which is the bed configuration again. The sixth digit is the assembly plant, and the seventh digit is the year in the GMC 67 to 72 VIN breakdown. So for my specific VIN, I'm looking at a 2-wheel drive V6, 305 V6 that came in a lot of GMCs, half-ton, wide side, or otherwise known as fleet side, Pontiac built 1968 truck. So what's key to realize here is that with all the GMCs, especially 67 and 72, they have 2 different VIN sequences. So the 67 has its own VIN sequence that's different from 68 and 69. And then 70 and 71 have their own VIN sequence that's different from 67, 72, 68, and 69. And then the 72 just has its own standalone, just like 67. So a quick recap on that, since that may have sounded confusing. 1967 GMC trucks had their own VIN sequence. 1968 and 69 had their own VIN sequence together. 70 and 71 had their own VIN sequence coupled together, and then 72s were different. For the Chevrolets, all the VIN sequences were the same from 1967 to 1972. And just as a reminder, this segment, the Action Line Anatomy segment, is brought to you by Auto Metal Direct, and it's really focused on the 67 to 72 GM trucks. That's the whole reason I named this podcast Action Line Podcast, because that's my favorite model of GM truck. And without just having it be about the history, the entire podcast being about the history of these trucks, I decided to just do a history segment in the main podcast where we do the interviews and that sort of thing. So that's what we're doing right now, right here with the Action Line Anatomy segment. So jumping back in, taking it a step further, you can dive into the model years also that accompany the VIN in a lot of ways. In most respects, you open the glove box, there's a SPID label. I believe that stands for Service Parts Identification, something like, I can't even remember what the acronym SPID stands for. That's another topic for another day. But there's a label, a decal in most of the Chevy trucks, and I've seen them in GMCs, but not as much. But in most of the Chevy trucks, glove box lid, there's a SPID, and it has the VIN number and it has the model number together next to each other in the little fields at the top of the SPID. So you can decode the VIN with the information I just gave you, and then also you can decode the model numbers using the website that I just talked about for Chevys, 6772 ChevyTrucks.com/Chev, CHEV, year, or the GMCs, decoding VIN and decoding model numbers at GMCPauls.com/67-72_GMC. And the reason you want to take a look at that model number Two is because it can tell you the basically the length of the truck, whether it's a step side or a fleet side. It can tell you what type of bed is on the truck. So for example, in my case of model numbers, the 04 is the step side bed on the truck, and the 34 is the fleet side. The 07, I believe, means short bed in the GMC trucks, and I think in the GMC and in the Chevy trucks. And then the 09 in the model number also means long bed. So I'm not really breaking down model numbers here, but I'm just trying to give you this type of information so that it ultimately helps you know what you're looking at. So arming yourself with this info can really give you a leg up in understanding the vehicle you're looking at, one that's right in front of you, or one that you just got the information on. For example, if you're looking at a V8 72 K20 step side built in Atlanta, just for fun, the VIN would be KE242A, at least the first six digits. And the VIN on the cab is CS147B, you know you're probably looking at a mixed matched truck, one that has had either a cab swap or one that has had frame modifications, or the body, like I said, has been swapped. So in a world of mixed match trucks, especially original looking trucks like my own personal 68 Teddy, looks like a old farm truck that's probably just been drug out of a field with some modifications done to it. It's actually 5 different original paint trucks: the cabin clip, the bed, doors, hood, frame, all from different trucks. Actually, let me clarify that. So the hood and fenders are from a Canadian truck. The cab and doors are from a Atlanta-built truck. The bed is from another truck from somewhere in the Midwest. The frame is from another truck built in Atlanta, and the engine and trans are out of a 2000 Suburban. So all different components make up one truck. So I think it's important to realize what you're looking at when you're looking at a truck, and especially looking at what the factory options were, or the factory configuration of the truck was when it was coming out of the GM plant and where it was coming from. So once I started to break down what VIN codes are, what model numbers are, it really opened my eyes to original trucks, or even if you had a slick restoration in front of you, you could really decode that VIN on site, or decode it, from pictures on the ad, or that you get from the seller, and you can begin to take a look and start to match up. Does everything look right? Is this a long bed when it's the VIN is actually saying it was a short bed, or vice versa is probably more common. Is this a small back window 67 truck with no marker lights in the fenders of the bed, but the VIN says it's a 69, and I know it would have a panoramic window and marker lights? Those types of things really start to give you the indicators that you need when it comes to decoding the VIN, decoding the model number, and it just makes your life a lot easier, and you can really suss out what the source of truth is about that truck. As always, we turn to Automotive Direct to make sure we have the correct sheet metal and parts to keep our truck in line with our build vision, even patina trucks that need a little help in the rust repair department. If you find yourself in a similar situation, head over to autometaldirect.com. They can help you with your build and really provide you with quality sheet metal and parts to get your build vision complete and in line and on the road. So big thanks to Automotive Direct for sponsoring this segment. Now back to the interview. Yep. So I gotta tell everybody, we had to reset some cameras here real quick, so that's why you hear us picking back up talking about this. But I want to pick on this thread just for a second, then we'll go back to the 67 C10. But it is really cool because I have an amazing wife who is in this room right now and who is so supportive, and you seem to as well. Yes. So tell me how that makes your life easier.
So going back to Lauren's dad being a truck guy, she kind of grew up in car shows and in that realm, and he rode motorcycles too. So I mean, it's like cars, bikes. They had boats and jet skis and stuff. Yeah. So she's in it. Yeah. And it was an easy sell when I wanted my first motorcycle.
I love it.
She met me in my 71, and then when I wanted to buy the next truck, my 68, she was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah." And ever since then, it's just slowly snowballed into this. And then, and I was in the mortgage industry for so long, we made some pretty decent money, and we put some money back, and I got burnt out, And I was like, I can't anymore, you know, like
Yep.
I feel like you reach a certain age where you're like, you're trading your life for money, and
You're trading your time and freedom.
yeah,
for
exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yep.
And I couldn't like stomach that. Especially we have 2 young boys.
Yep.
And it was like, she was working her butt off. I was working my butt off. Like the kids were just constantly getting thrown on the back burner.
Yep.
Neither of us were happy. And like, we were making really good money, but it's like,
Money's not everything.
like, why are we doing this? You know? So street trucks, when I started my channel, I wasn't really wanting to go full time. I was still doing the Florida Mortgage Dude stuff.
Yep.
And I hit a wall, and I told her, I was like, I'm done. I can't pick up that. I still can't get on the phone. Like not call. I meant to call you the other day.
Oh,
and I totally forgot. Like now I get almost like, it's weird to say, but anxiety when I have to talk to somebody on the phone.
And my friends know this, Sarah. I don't answer the phone.
Right.
Like you can text me and I will hit you back in a second.
Right.
But I barely or very rarely answer the phone. And that's a good thing to have that kind of freedom, but it's also a bit of a fault, especially with friends. But it is, I'm in a similar way. I spent so much time in that corporate world or in that environment where the phone, you lived and died by the phone.
Yeah.
You lived and died by your email.
Like if your phone rang in that environment, you had to answer.
That's
it.
right.
No,
Because that could be your next client. That could be your next sell. That could be your next, customer for the next 10 years kind of thing.
Right.
It is also one of those things.
One of those things,
Yeah.
you know?
A similar place, similar way. So Lauren helped make that easier because she was all in.
Yeah. So we did the 67 and had a lot of fun doing it. Dually, the OBS pace truck dually was the last build that I did with street trucks, and then at the very end of that, I basically is when I launched my channel. Did the 23 power tour with that dually and did all that content on my channel. And then once we started to get a little bit of traction, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. So for the rest of 23, I was basically like stepping out of the mortgage industry. And I did my continuing education. I got relicensed for 24, but
it's a good security blanket.
Yeah.
Good security move.
Yeah. So, but I was still undecided. And then I let it lapse at the end of 24. So now I'm just YouTubing, man.
Yeah.
And she's like 100% on board because my temperament's changed, my mood's changed, my like attitude towards life is totally different.
Yep.
Because I'm pursuing, my dream.
Yep.
And because of that, like it's pouring over into her success because she sees how happy and I'm supportive of her. If I'm at the shop, like if I'm dropping a transmission out of a truck and she's like, hey, I need you to come over here and shoot this house for me. All right, babe, I'll be right there.
Yeah. Drop everything.
I'll drop everything and go because it's like her business obviously is way more important than mine.
And it's a little more time sensitive, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I mean, if she needs, you to come shoot something at a house.
Right.
It's probably because she needs to get this house on the market and
now.
get it gone.
Exactly.
The transmission could probably wait till the morning.
Right. Exactly. So because she knows I 100% have her back and she's totally on board with this. I feel like she really believes in the channel, probably more so than me.
Yeah.
Because there's been probably 3 or 4 times where I've told her, like, look, I got to stop. Like, I have to earn income to this because, I mean, I talked to you about it. I
totally
posted the other day in one of my videos, like, I made like $300 in January.
Yeah. Off of YouTube.
Yeah. Like, what can you pay for $300? Like, our phone bill's $280 a month,
right.
For cell phones.
Yeah, I think that is one thing. And I have approached this differently than you, but I admire you so much for talking about this so transparently.
Right.
Especially when it comes to money that you make off of YouTube and social media and even merch. But it is, we're not all Cletuses. We're not all out here with millions of subscribers. And you and I think are really some of the two that are doing it down here at sort of this level.
Yeah.
Who are taking a giant risk.
Right.
I mean, you are, I am, we just are.
Right.
But we're doing it because it's our dream. It's our passion.
Yeah, man.
And it is, I hope that it's evident from my channel. I definitely see that it's evident, from you. And I watch you. I try to catch every video. At least most of them. Sometimes I put videos on at night and I fall asleep and I'm like, dang,
we're busy. I get it,
how'd
man.
that end?
Yeah.
But I think it's so admirable that you were talking about this so openly. I would encourage you, if you feel good about it, keep doing that. It actually makes me feel better about myself and about my own success or lack thereof. But this is, doing this type of thing full time is a very difficult thing. I want to talk a little bit about burnout. You talked about those times where you wanted to just put it down. I have put it down. I put it down for 60, 75 days before.
I remember those times, like, well, we haven't seen a new video yet.
Yeah.
We're on so that's when I was on the consumer end.
Yep.
I'm not thinking about it from the creator end.
Yeah.
And I don't think people really do.
Yeah.
I mean, because you talked about it too.
Oh yeah. I think it's probably stymied some of my growth.
Yeah.
Also, but it's also, and I have not done that. We're coming up on 1 year anniversary since I've been full time with UBT and UBT Media. So I want to be clear. I'm not just trying to make a living right off of YouTube. There's no way. As you just said, there's really no way for us at this level to do that.
Correct.
So I have media clients and, the merch business and other things. Try to diversify my revenue streams as much as possible, but keep it very focused on trucks and automotive and media. But I think that the times I would get so burned out would be trying to keep up my corporate career at the time and produce really high quality content, or as high a quality content as I can produce. And I think that's one thing that became my mission to do was, and to really differentiate myself a bit, was try to just produce the highest quality content I can. Kind of forget the consistency and focus on the quality. Right. Tell me a little bit about your burnout. What have those seasons been like for you?
It's mainly like when you have, let's say you have an idea for a video or like this piece of content, and you just know it's going to be successul. Like with every ounce of your being, you're like, if I make this, like, I know like people are going to love this video, and it might be a great video, but the like harsh reality is like people just don't care. Yeah. And sometimes you'll pour your life and your blood and your sweat and your tears into a project,
and you get very little in return. I'll say it for you.
Almost nothing. And it's just like, it's a kick in the pants, you know, like, man, like and especially like, I got, when I put the most pressure on myself. Like Lauren tries to try to be like, hey, we don't have to do this. Right. Like, no, this has to work. Yep. Like this is going to work. Yep. And if it doesn't, then it's like,
you got to drink your Kool-Aid, man. Yeah. I wake up every morning doing it. Yeah. Like, sometimes it's hard to get down, but
sometimes it tastes like Robitussin.
Yes, it does. But man, sometimes it tastes like fruit punch.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's it's the opposite. Like sometimes you'll do something like, this is a dumb idea, but I want to put this out. This is something I want to try. And then it's like,
it soars.
This works.
Yeah.
So I think I'm moving forward, trying to figure out kind of what I want to do and what is working, and find that balance. Yeah. Because that balance is really hard to find.
It is hard to find. And I think and guys, I want to say this before we even go any farther. I hope that people aren't hearing this as us being, complaining or anything like that. We really are just trying to peel the curtain back a little bit. We're both YouTubers. We both do this in the automotive space. Folks who are going to be listening to this, most likely watch one of us or both. Right. So I'm just trying to peel the layer back a little bit. That's really it. I hope this does not come off as us complaining, but it is a real thing when it comes to full-time content creation. Burnout is a thing. You're putting and pouring, all your effort and money into a project, and it not paying off or not doing as well as you think it should on paper, or as well as even somebody else on another channel as that content is doing for them. I try so hard not to get into the comparison game, but it's a very hard thing to do. Yeah. Yeah. So hard. Do you find yourself doing that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I'm in a group chat with Metal Massacre Fab Shop. Yep. Matt Harvey.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Matt.
And Cade.
Matt and Hillary both.
Yeah. And Cade with Rustomod. Yep. And like we kind of like bounce ideas off each other, and we're all very, very different. They're not doing it full time. They have the passion for it. They both work full time jobs, and they're doing their thing. And Cade just did a body swap on that C60.
Man, that thing's going to be bad to the bone. It is really bad to the bone. It is.
Yeah, it's a rad truck. And he got like 100,000 views in the first day. We were like, what? Yes. I got to body swap something,
But the reality is that may not happen for you.
Right. Exactly.
It just may not. It's one of those things that I feel like he hit something at the right time for his channel, for
Absolutely.
the algorithm, for his type of content. There's so many factors that go into it that
it's crazy.
At least that's what I tell myself anyway. I really feel like that's probably the most, informed way to look at it. Because if you don't look at it that way, you are going to go make knee-jerk reactions.
Right.
You are or knee-jerk decisions, and you're going to get wallowed in the comparison game.
Yeah.
And
so
it's deadly.
I've wanted to try a sit-down talking version of going through different cars and trucks, kind of like a donut media thing.
I have to stop you right here.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I love what you did. The first episode, I think, was on the CK truck.
Yeah.
But do you know why I named this podcast Action Line Podcast?
Why is that?
Because you told me that's what it was.
Oh,
the
really?
6772s in that video. I'm
Oh,
sure I'd
man.
heard it somewhere along the way.
Probably, yeah.
But you reminded me, and I remember looking over at Sarah and going, I'm naming the podcast Action Line Podcast
dude, that's
after my
awesome.
favorite series truck, you know, because I love 6772 so much.
Yeah.
I went and found the original graphic or the original marketing material in 67 where GM announced it, calling it the Action Line pickup truck.
Yeah.
And the logo for this podcast, Casey Harris took and sort of modeled it, or that logo is inspired by the original GM.
That is awesome.
So
man. You're so cool.
You're the one that was like, put it in my head because of that super quality piece of content.
Yeah.
I love Donut Media. I love James Pumphrey, like him doing all that stuff with Donut and now doing it for Speed. There is go forth.
Yeah.
Like you should. Like I love that kind of content. There's so much to learn. There's so much to be reminded of, even for guys like us who are like live this stuff every single day.
Right.
Like you reminded me. Those trucks are called Action Line.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's so awesome.
And the crazy part is you go through those comments, and there's things like these guys and gals are like, they're giving input on things that I didn't even know about these trucks.
Yeah, it becomes a forum in itself.
And it's like, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I just made a video on like everything you need to know.
Yeah,
It's like, well, maybe it's almost everything you need to know.
Right. Well, that's another reason in these podcasts I'm doing a history segment. So I will go and every single one bring out some, and I'm doing it right now on C772s because just to have the Action Line tie, back to that series truck. But I'm doing some, like a history segment in every single one of these. Autometal Direct is involved, and they're helping us, produce that part of the podcast. I think it's so awesome. It's so fun, but it's my little nod to Action Line, to 6772s. I want folks to know why there weren't side markers in the in the bed and in the front fenders in 67. That was the first one. And so I'm just going to drill down on all that little stuff like you were talking about and bring those out in podcast form. I love so much though when you said that you were taking that sort of new change in direction. I think you're probably finding out it's harder to do than it looks because that research is strong. Like you've got to be so dialed.
Dude, it's the research, the time to sit down and do it, because multiple takes, hours just screaming at a camera by yourself. It's like it's crazy. And the editing, because you have to go in and get so much B-roll, and a lot of times you're sourcing B-roll from either other channels, so you're having to like basically
reference them, cite them.
Yeah. So like all the videos and all the photos. Okay, I got to make sure that this line up because I want to give credit to this channel or this source, or it's like I did 2 videos and I was like these are going to be great. Yeah. And I put so much time into it, so much effort, and then they just like
didn't do as well. Well,
oh man,
I would say, and I've been telling myself this recently, and I think this is so relevant if anybody's wanting to do YouTube or to make automotive content, because that's really all I know. So I just want to talk about automotive content. I don't really know much about other industries, but trying new things, especially once you've already established yourself in doing a certain thing, for us, it's road trips and shows and builds and, doing these nicely produced videos that are of a certain length for the most part. Anytime you try something different, you're going to get a little egg on your face, I think. Oh yeah. Especially if you're putting it out in the same place that you've always put out that other content. Yeah. I mean, like the podcast video, I was like, this is going to do so well. Podcasts are so amazing. I love them. I listen to them all the time. They're hot as fire right now. Yeah. And especially video podcasts and nicely produced one. This is the lowest viewed video right now that I've had in probably years.
It's tough to,
but I think you got to keep on keeping on. Yeah. I think I think this is, you're kind of building, we're not building new channels, but we're building a new, a new format, a new version of the channel,
Right.
in those ways.
Well, if you look at
I would just encourage you to keep doing it, man.
yeah,
I love
thank
it.
you. I would like, I need to identify the next one and then start. But we got a lot on my plate right now.
Well, what's on your plate? What are you thinking about?
Got moving into a new shop when I get back from the Tailgate tour. So
that's breaking news.
That's breaking news.
You haven't told anybody that, right?
I alluded to it in the transmission swap video on the C10,
Which I haven't seen yet. Okay.
but I couldn't get the dang truck started, so I was like, well, get on that when I get back. But
Yeah.
I had mentioned that I was going to drive over there and show the new space,
Oh, very cool.
but I never did.
Yeah.
And everybody's like,
What happened?
Yeah, where's the new space, man? So
Life is what happens.
Life happens. So I actually already recorded a video and have edited a video of me doing a sealer on the floor because it's a brand new building. I'm the first tenant of this unit.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's
Well,
real
tell
awesome.
everybody a little bit about the building. The
So
new space.
it's the place I'm in now is 900 square feet, and the way that it's laid out, and I kind of talked about it a little bit in that transmission swap video. It's not for a working shop.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't get multiple projects in there. It makes it really difficult to move around basically. But it's got a killer AC system, and I'm a big AC guy.
When you're in Florida.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's hot here too, but
Yeah.
we vacation where you live, so
Yeah.
it's a whole different kind of heat down there.
It is,
and
man.
that humidity blanket.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It hits you as soon as you walk out of the
Yeah.
door. They say the most humid place in the world is the terminal at Orlando International Airport.
No kidding.
You walk out and you're just like immediately sweating.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It makes sense.
But it's like, this has got to be true.
Yes.
So the new shop though it's 22 or 25 by 55, 24-foot ceilings. It has one bathroom in the back. And it's just wide open.
Yeah. So no office.
No office, no nothing.
Yeah.
So literally, it was like there's not paint on the walls. The concrete was bare. So I went in, I sealed the floor, and like it's a total blank slate.
Yeah.
So I can fit almost everything I have right now in that shop. And I have enough space for a 4-post lift and a 2-post lift.
My gosh.
So
you're gonna spoil yourself.
I know, man.
Yeah.
I know. But we had talked about this too. Like, when you make that jump from garage content creator to okay, now you got to lift. Like, you just cut half of the people that watch out of maybe being interested to watch because potentially, but also like the speed at which you could work with a lift is like
it's another level.
It's another level.
Yeah. I think you're right. Like, so you may alienate's the wrong word, but you may have some of your audience that becomes a little less interested,
right.
But you will most likely be able to turn out videos faster,
correct.
Get projects completed faster, which, in the whole world of YouTube, algorithm is everything. Being able to produce more content more consistently is going to help. So you could grow your audience even more.
Right. Yeah. And touching on the consistently putting content out, I've been a terrible job this year. Consistently putting content out. So, and leads to not great numbers, right? Income. So I'm happy to report March, it's looking like I might make $400 this month in YouTube.
Man, give this guy golf clapping here. I love it. Well, it is one of those things I have been told recently, probably within the last year, and I have started regurgitating this. I feel like once you get to a certain level, new channels get a lot of favorability on YouTube, and I think that's awesome. New channels need that. Folks who've been around for a couple of years like us and have had some explosive growth at times, we still need some of that too. But I think that maintaining that consistency and kind of realizing that YouTube, once you get to our level, will kind of just pay you enough to keep you doing it kind of thing is probably closer to reality than not.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I tell myself. Because when I went full time, I thought, well, I'll be able to do this more consistently. And I've slowly gotten more consistent with it. But I thought I'll be able to double or triple or quadruple my monthly revenue. Right. And it has not happened.
It's unreal. Before I went full time, I was like, oh, dude, like, I think I could make this work. You know? Like, it's double, triple, 10X, you know? like give me 2 or 3 years, I'll be able to 10x this.
Yes.
Like Grant Cardone style.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know if it's that easy.
It's not.
I don't think it's going to happen like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it could happen that way.
Right.
I also will say, and this is my bit of transparency around, revenue from YouTube. 2 years ago, I made 3 times more a month on YouTube with half the following and half the viewership.
Yeah.
Than I do now.
Like what happened?
I don't know. The algorithm changed.
Yeah.
YouTube did something, you know, and they pay their creators in a different way now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of weird.
It is weird, but
but those are the kinds of things that we as content creators are pushing through and trying to take notice of, and I don't think it's something that the common person, not common person, the person that is commonly watching our channels,
right,
that they have any awareness of.
Right.
And it's just one of those things that is you kind of got to get over that hump every day when you go to start trying to make content. You know, it's like, I may not get paid much more for this whole lot of extra effort kind of thing.
Right.
So,
I'm going to have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, that is it. I mean, I do think that's it. And that's why, I've started to look for other ways to stay in this lane, make more, make money so I can continue doing this and trying to do it even more, because it is about the passion. I love these trucks just like you do. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is one reason I, wanted to have you here today. It's one reason I have followed you ever since you started your channel. I, in fact, will go out on a limb and tell you that I was probably the strongest voice telling you to do your own thing. Yeah. I remember, and I would tell Rick every time he would bring your name up. Yeah. Hey, I talked to Josh today. You need to tell Josh he needs to do his own thing. Do his own thing. Start his own channel. He's got the goods. Yeah. Go do it. It'll be so great. So I'm a huge fan, big supporter of what you're doing. I want you to keep doing it because I love watching it. I don't even watch a lot of automotive YouTube. Yeah. I watch you though.
I appreciate it. Yeah. And I watch you as well.
I appreciate it, man.
See, it's I feel like it's weird being like sitting down with people that you have looked up to. Yeah. Like sitting down with you and talking with you as a peer is definitely an interesting experience. Oh, so
this is the way to do it.
It is, man.
And we're recording it. Other people get to learn from it and hear about it.
Right.
I think that's the best part, which is exactly why I wanted to start a podcast, because this type of thing is much harder to get out into the open in our traditional way of doing videos. Yeah. This is much easier to have a conversation and to pick at little threads and kind of run down rabbit holes. And I mean, this is, hopefully folks at home are getting some value out of this, but this is just as good for me. I'm doing this more, like I'm probably getting more out of this, than maybe they are. And I think that's so rad. Like, why not be able to create this type of content that we love and
figure out a way to make a living doing it.
Yeah, that's born out of our passion. So let's switch gears back to trucks. Sure. Tell me the current stable that you have right now and kind of what kind of changes you're thinking about in that stable.
So let's see, when did I make that decision? I think on the drive home from California. Like when I go on these big road trips, I do a lot of thinking. Oh yeah, because I don't really listen to music. I mean, I do sometimes, but a lot of times I'm thinking about what's next. What am I doing? What projects do I want to pursue? And coming back from California, I was like, I'm selling everything. Everything's on the chopping block except for my '67. Yep. So I actually put my OBS dually up for sale, and
it's still for sale right now.
It's still for sale right now.
Can be purchased.
Yep. Send me an email, yeahbuddygarage@gmail.com.
There you go, guys.
Yeah, man. If you want it, I'll send you all the specs on it. I thought it was going to go a little quicker.
Me too.
But because it hasn't, and I'm doing the tailgate tour, I've kind of really I'm not really talking to anybody about it right now. Yeah. But, and then now that I've had it for a couple extra weeks, like I want to do some more things to it. Like you can't stop, man.
It's a total car
guy. My buddies are like, you have to stop, man. Like, cause I'm like, man, if it's not sold by the end of April, like I'm
doing this.
Like it might have an LS in it by the summertime. Yeah. But, so that truck's ready to go. Then the 79 K5, I want to do a couple things to that, but that'll go up for sale too. My daily.
It is. I want to pick a thread on it. Yeah. I have seen the Blazer, and it's sitting right out this door that of the office we're talking in. But that's a nice Blazer.
Yeah, it is.
Like it's got some really great stuff going. It's got a lot of period looking stuff going on, which I love. You know, things that look like they were when they rolled off the lot. But you recently put a new battery tray, massive improvement in the back of that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, massive improvement. New headlights. You got that engineered vintage grill, which is just a premium piece.
Dude, Ben makes some crazy stuff.
I've yet to own one. You're one of the first people that I know sort of in our community that has one. I know it's big in the four-wheel drive space, especially out west, but man, it looks awesome. Yeah. It looks super awesome. What is the drivetrain in it again?
So that is a 5.3, like a truck motor, with a 4L60 that's been rebuilt twice. It's got a 411 posi rear, Mosier rear axle, and it's got some Texas speed goodies in it. So we got there, some aluminum heads. We got a thumpy cam.
Yeah, dude, I heard you coming way before I saw you.
Got a big old 3-inch exhaust that pretty much dumps straight down. It's got a really, really good sound to it, man.
It does sound good. Does that dump drive you nuts when you're on the road?
Not really. So it's the Borla Pro XS mufflers.
That's what I run to.
So I mean, man, like once you get up to speed, it just kind of mellows out.
Yeah.
But like it's got that bite down low.
It does.
I love it.
I was surprised that I heard you coming from so far away today, because I'm in here. I was like, man, that's got to be him, but where is he? And then it took me a minute to see you coming. So you got C7 C10, the Blazer, the OBS dually, the Pace Truck Tribute. Is that what you call it? Pace Truck Tribute kind of thing?
Yeah.
What else?
So I still have a square body crew cab dually. That was the one we drove to North Carolina for C10 Fall Revival.
Yes.
It ran great on the way up, and on the way back, we ate like 3 main bearings.
Wow.
It was connecting rod bearings. It was destroyed the crankshaft, limped it over to Piedmont Traction.
Yep.
Met Steve over there.
Yep.
Super nice guy.
Oh, the greatest guy.
And he was nice enough. I've never met him before.
Oh, really?
But I got to sit down with him and talk with him for a little bit. Ended up calling him because he let me keep my truck there. And I was like, hey, man, I found a big block. Can I do a motor swap in your driveway? He was like, yeah, man, bring it. So we loaded it up. We loaded a big block up in my 92 Astro with GMC Safari. Yeah. Drove up there. Me and my dad motor swapped it in his driveway.
I do remember that now. Yeah.
And then that motor had a bad rod in it. So
You're kidding.
I thought I was going to drive it home, man.
Oh, I missed that part somehow. Oh, man, you've had the worst luck.
Oh, yeah. So Terry Boris, he's one of my buddies. He lives up in I think near Athens. Anyway, he was like near Mooresville, so he ended up coming down and bringing me the truck, which is awesome.
Very cool.
But it's just sitting in front of my shop with a bad motor, and I just got the original big block back from the machine shop, so I'm gonna throw it together, do some AMD patch panels on it, and
dude, that thing's not gonna know what hit it.
Yeah,
that's gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah,
that truck is cool because of the color combo.
Yeah,
it's like is it the doe skin and then some sort of navy blue looking color, or maybe a little more electric than navy, but in the center.
Yeah, so it was originally like the I guess the doe skin color and like a yellow.
Okay.
And then because the motor was blue, which was a factory blue,
factory from GM,
they matched that to the two-tone.
Oh, I dig that.
Yeah, so I thought it was cool, man. You know?
I love the color scheme. I think it's awesome.
It's got the old camper topper on it, or bed topper on it, and like it's a rad truck, and it drives really nice. It's got a little Beltec drop kit on it. Yeah, it's an original AC truck. I mean, it's a C35 Sierra Grande. It's like fully loaded, dude.
And you put Alcoas? It got Alcoas on it? 16-inch Alcoas?
16-inch Alcoas that came on.
I love those wheels.
Yeah, so those wheels came from the Dually Pace truck.
Okay, yeah,
and they're still in good shape.
Yeah,
so I drove those tires, dude. Are like they probably shouldn't have gone on a road trip with them, but like,
well, we do have to push the limits somewhere. Yeah. Sometimes you have to work on getting the critical things. Even though I would probably argue that tires are critical, but working on critical things and the other stuff just kind of gets put to the side, and you hope you make it. And then when you get back home, you're like, that's the next thing I got to fix. Yeah. That's the thing.
But buying 6 tires, man.
Like, that ain't cheap.
No, it's not cheap.
That ain't cheap.
They were fine.
Yeah, that wasn't your problem.
No,
the tires were not your problem.
No.
So you've got that. That's a square body dually, round eye. And then what else do you have? You mentioned the van.
Yep. So we got that van out of Central Florida, and we threw a Beltec drop kit on it and took it on the power tour. I took it on the autocross course. We took it down the drag strip. We put it on a dyno. It made 122 horsepower.
You're kidding,
dude. But that thing, it's a champ. You know, and I don't drive it easy.
Is it a 4.3?
It's a 4.3.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not the all-wheel drive though. It's kind of a bummer, but it's
a great
an
all-wheel drive van.
They made an all-wheel drive
I don't think I knew
Safari Astro, and you could take the turbo and the throttle body injection from like a Cyclone, and put it on there, and it's basically like
no kidding, like a Cyclone or Typhoon van.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Somebody made one. They called it the Tsunami.
That's pretty good. That's real good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then the other one I have is the 88 OBS Cookie Monster.
Yeah. Tell me, you've been doing something that I've watched from afar on it and have no skill in. You actually have a lot of skills that I don't have, which I admire.
I don't know, man.
But this one, you've been learning some new skills.
Yes.
Tell me what you've been doing on the OBS.
So my buddy Steve at Mirror Image Auto Body, he's the guy that painted the dually. We built a friendship through that process, and I've helped him out with a couple things, and he's helped me out with some stuff. And I was like, "Can you teach me how to paint this thing?"
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah." So we're bringing in a piece at a time and knocking it out. So we did the cabin doors. Just in the cabin doors right now, we have almost 100 hours.
Wow.
In labor.
You liking how it's turning out?
I do like how it's turning out. I don't like the process.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's a lot of sanding.
I bet it's so
very tedious. But it's different than mechanical work because when you get there, when you get to the shop, it's like I have to do X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm. You got 3 things to do, not 15 steps.
Right. And then it's so much different than mechanical stuff because there's so many other things there's so many variables with mechanical stuff.
Right.
Oh, I got to stop here and I got to go to the freaking parts store to get this bolt or whatever, find this gasket. I got to get this. Like, that's just like, you got sandpaper, body filler, you got a welder, a grinder, like, you're good.
You're just getting after it.
Yeah.
Doing a similar thing the whole time.
Yeah.
Until you start spraying.
Which that in itself is a whole thing. I painted the cab and the doors, but I'm thinking about scuffing and having him reshoot the clear because it came out.
Oh, really?
It's so bad, dude.
Oh, man.
So many runs. It's so like I know I can wet sand and buff it because that clear coat is so thick. But I'm like, okay, the time that it's going to take to start at 600 to wet sand all these runs out of this, and work up to like 3,000 or 5,000 grit versus
just
like
have him re-clear it.
Yeah, and then you could start with a lot higher grit sandpaper to get the finish you want. So we'll probably reshoot the clear on that.
That's all good. I like I said, admire you for taking that on and like trying to figure out how to do that. That's so cool. What tell me a little bit about the color. I noticed that the color that it was and the new color, they look pretty drastically different.
Yeah. So
when am I understanding? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So the truck came from Street Trucks magazine.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing a build with it, and the first time I saw it was in Ocala at one of the shows up there. They had a show for a little while. Sorry, Chris, I can't remember the name of it. It's been a couple of years. And I saw the truck and I was like, man, like this truck needs to be nicer. And I'm not knocking Chris for any of the work he's done on that, but like it looked like some of the shops that worked on it just were trying to turn it and get it out the door. They didn't want to mess with it.
Common thing. And
I was talking to Chris about it and I was like, hey man, I'm probably going to be documenting all this, and I don't want to have anything, weird animosity or anything. He's like, no, man, I know, it's not our best product, but like, do what
take it and make it better.
Yeah. So I've been diving into it, man, and there was a lot of rat's nests in there, and that truck was originally gold, and it was painted blue back in the early 90s.
Oh wow, okay.
I didn't know that until I took a fender off and I saw the original gold color. And then when we were sandblasting, they actually stripped the whole truck down, and then from bare metal they built up and did the whole paint job. So they did a really good repaint on it.
Wow.
I was tricked.
Yeah.
But that color that's on it now, it's tropical turquoise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually a color from like the 50s.
Yep.
They used it on a couple of fleet trucks for like the Boyd Coddington era,
Yeah.
You could order it, but
Is it that color of that one truck that's the one Coddington OBS that's Wait, is that a Coddington OBS or is that a Tribute truck? But it's like it's green on the front maybe, and it has these jagged and it's purple on the back.
That's
or maybe I've got.
Yep, that's Slick. I think that is a Boyd Coddington truck.
Okay, I think it is too.
It's magenta on the front, and it goes into that tropical turquoise.
Yes, goes into the tropical turquoise.
Yeah. Who just redid it? What's his name? OBS Builder's Guide editor.
Oh,
you know who I'm talking about.
I do know who you're talking about.
I'm terrible with names.
Me too.
I know what he looks like though.
I can't even. I can't. I can't come up with it.
Yeah, he redid it, and I'm gonna remember his name off camera.
Oh, Mark Oya.
Mark, yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah. So Mark, he redid that truck because that truck's gone.
Yeah.
It's lost forever. So nobody knows where the original truck is. So
Wow.
he redid it, and he brought it back to life.
Yeah, that I think his version is actually what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
His tribute version.
A lot of the information I got on those era trucks came from Greg Nettles. Have you ever met that guy?
I haven't. I've heard the name, but
yeah. So he lives in Arkansas near Mike and Sarah Losh with Slosh Tubs, and he has an original Bell-Tech truck from the early 90s that had the original like R&D stuff that was put on the truck and taken to SEMA. So he found the truck and he, did some updates to it.
Yeah.
And he actually went to SEMA last year with it. Or
Wow.
the year before.
That's so cool. I love that those trucks from our era of growing up have just made such a comeback. I mean, I love OBS trucks. I know a lot of guys draw a line in the sand after square bodies. I am not one of those guys.
Yeah.
I love them. I love them so much. But it's so cool to see a lot of these trucks that like we saw being built on TV shows, or we would go see it like, I don't know, Nopi Nationals even, or mini trucking show, the big mini trucking shows back in the day where they'd have full size trucks.
Right.
In fact, I saw the first 6772 that I ever loved was a red bagged body dropped. I think it was a 67. It was shaved all around, but I was at a mini trucking show at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and there it come, and I'm like, this thing. I love all these mini trucks, but this thing is what I want. Yeah, I was like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
But I love seeing all these trucks sort of come back and be, whether it's tributes, even on your pace truck. I mean, having those, I had a pace truck, and having those tributes done or making them even better like you did the dually is just like the truck GM should have built, it's so rad. I just think that's so awesome.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man.
What do you, so you kind of got everything up for sale except for the 67, in some way, shape or form, they're going to be leaving the stable.
Yep.
What's your plan? What's coming up next?
So I would like to, my ultimate goal with the channel is to get back to getting something running that hasn't been running in a long time. Yep. Like we in the industry, we call it Will It Run. Will It Run.
Yeah.
Those have always done really good on my channel.
Yeah.
I mean, that 56 F100 we did really good. We did the 79 square body dually. It hadn't run in a year or so.
Yeah.
That did really well.
Yeah, I remember watching that one. That was just like painstaking.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is that the one that the wasp, you got attacked by the wasp?
Yes.
It was in that video, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like stuck somewhere in a headlight.
Dude.
And I was like, yeah, it was not fun.
Yeah, you were attacked. Like you could, like sometimes you see when you're watching a video, you can't see all the insects around.
Yeah.
Dude, you could tell there were wasps
suckers
everywhere in that video.
Yeah.
I do not envy him right now.
Right. So I want to get to doing one build and then supplement it with Will It Runs and content like that.
Yeah, I love it.
I think that'd be a good kind of mix of what I like doing.
Yeah, and I think it separates yourself from from others, at least especially in our lane. I mean, there's the Vice Grips and the others who are doing Will It Runs on all sorts of stuff.
Right.
But I think that's a cool thing. And, you got some mechanical ability, and watching you struggle is also fun.
Yeah.
I think people like to watch us struggle anyway.
I think they do too.
Yeah.
Man.
So might as well lean into it.
Right.
That's very cool. I hope that you will still try to do the, donut up to speed
I'll try
kind of thing. I know it's a lot of work, but I love it so much. I love the history part of all this.
Yeah.
And it's so cool what you learn, like you said, from those type of videos.
Right.
Even what James is doing on speed with, like, he did it with Carhartt.
Yeah.
He's done it with some other automotive stuff, and then stuff that's not even automotive.
Did you see the one
he
did on, I think it was Lux cameras?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's a really good one.
I'll have to check that out.
They were like very high end cameras back in the day, and they
Yeah.
refused to change with the times, and they're still around, but
I've heard of them for sure.
Their antique cameras are like the most sought after camera.
Very cool.
And actually, my brother-in-law had one I told you about. My
Yeah.
brother-in-law in LA, and the way you focus those cameras is so different. Like
Really?
they're really cool. But I had no idea about any of that, and then I sat there, I watched that whole hour and a half long video
Yeah.
of just like nerding out on cameras. You
Yeah,
know?
that's so good. I love that.
Yeah.
That type of content is just so fun to watch, and I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like you learn something.
Absolutely.
You know? Well, I think we're coming toward the end of our time here. Is there anything you wanted to cover that we didn't cover that you want folks at home to know?
I will say that be on the lookout for a Yeah Buddy 2 channel.
Oh,
Yeah.
going 2 channel.
I think I'm gonna, because like you touched on, YouTube shows love the new channels.
They do.
So, I do more than just automotive stuff. I refinished a guitar, so you got one hanging right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe bring in some of that content. Because we signed the lease on the new shop, we're not going to be moving.
Yeah.
My wife wanted to look for a new house, and I wanted to find a place to build a shop.
Yeah.
But since we locked it in on a 3-year lease, so we're going to sit tight for a bit.
I'm in a similar situation. My wife won't move.
Yeah.
And so here we are, less than a mile from my house.
So, but you just did a renovation on your house.
I did do a renovation.
So,
it did not include a shop, but
right.
maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
But it is, I worked from home and built UBT on the side while I was working at home, doing a remote job.
Yeah.
And there's something about having a dedicated space, especially a creative space. Like we're sitting in here, and then, just right next to us is where I edit videos and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about having a dedicated creative space that I think is awesome. Also, I mean, obviously a dedicated, garage space, but you can have that pretty easily,
Right.
In your home garage or in a carport, or because I've done both, and
Yep.
or in spaces like we have now. But I love having this creative space. Like I come here, I do all these things, and then when I go home, I'm home. I'm not trying to worry about creative stuff as much.
Right.
You spoke about the second channel. That's awesome. Mad
Yeah.
props. I've got some plans to do that, not in UBT
Okay.
world, but separately. But so I think that's cool. And for some of the same reasons, selfish reasons, but also just because we're creators, we want to create new things.
Right.
We want to
Also, I have a to-do list, a honey-do list. We got to renovate the bathroom. We got to do the patio. Now I got to redo the kitchen because we're not moving. So we got to update the house again.
Dude, if you do that and film all of it,
Yeah.
that'll be some good content for somebody, for sure. Well, you mentioned this right here at the end, and I'm glad you did because it reminded me of a question I thought about right at the very beginning. How long have you been playing guitar?
Okay, so I started playing when I was 11.
Yep.
And I kind of got out of it in my early 20s.
Yep.
And then just work, life, all that stuff just got in the way.
Yeah.
And I just very recently started kind of messing around with it again.
I love it.
Yeah.
I started when I was 8, just to give you that frame of reference since we've been paralleling our stories. But it's the one thing I've never put down.
Really?
That's my oldest passion. It's my first love.
That is
Guitars
awesome.
are everything. I love music more than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, not more than my wife
Oh,
and
yeah,
kids,
yeah, no, no.
but
Outside
like
of that.
from like hobby type stuff.
Yeah.
But what is your favorite guitar? Any guitar, any style, any brand? Hit me with it.
Oh man. Like I'm a guy that's like each of them have their own
They do. They definitely do.
character,
Yeah.
But I would say I was never a Strat guy
Yeah.
until I was always a Les Paul guy.
Yep.
I played metal,
Yep.
rock,
Me too.
and then blues.
Yeah.
So, but I always played Les Paul with my blues. So
Yeah.
it's like, man, I think I need to get a Strat. So now I bought my very first Strat, not the one I refinished.
Yeah.
I bought one brand new. I never bought a new guitar
Yeah.
before, so that was like my first one, which is cool.
Do you know the specs on it? What is it?
So it's a made in Mexico Strat.
Yeah.
Well, actually Indonesia now.
Yeah.
Yep. It's the Player 2 series.
Yes.
So it's nothing fancy, but it's
Just
kinda,
a nice Strat.
yeah, just like
Yeah.
an early 60s style neck and all. It's very just solid.
Yeah.
But you can get so much tone out of that one guitar.
100%. 5 position switches. I mean,
But
like
each position is so
it's
unique
so different.
sounding.
So different.
And I've been able to play some of my heavier stuff, like the heavier metal stuff,
Yeah.
with that Strat, and I've been very impressed.
Yeah.
And I go back to play my Les Paul because I put EMG picked up.
Yeah.
Active
pickups. Yeah.
And
You're like Kirk Hammett over there.
yeah. So I mean, it gets heavy.
Yeah.
But like the Strat just plays so good.
Yeah.
So I think I'm a Strat guy now.
I have turned into, well, I started playing Strats and got away from them, and was just like, I just don't want to play Strats anymore.
Yeah.
And I became a Telly guy, and
Okay.
now I'm into Jazz Masters. But
Yeah.
I have definitely always been a Gibson guy.
Yeah.
Les Paul, I have a 40th anniversary Les Paul. I love P90s, so it's got P90s in it.
Yep.
And then I have just an early 2000s 335. I love semi-hollow guitars because
Okay.
you can do the delicate thing that you're talking about,
Yeah.
or you can rip roar in that thing.
Yeah.
And it even has, low wound humbuckers in it. It's not a super aggressive. They're like vintage PAF type pickups in it.
Yeah.
But I love heavy music too. Listen to it all the time, and play a lot of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I love that you can still get heavy music, heavy guitar tones out of vintage style, vintage voiced stuff. I think it's so cool.
It just adds so much more
I think there's just
depth to it.
Yeah, and there's like this fidelity or something.
Yeah.
We could spend way too much time talking about this. I'm sure.
I've been deep diving on amps and guitars for the last couple of months, so I got a problem.
Well, when you come back
yeah.
and you got time, you're not trying to go do a big trip this week that we're both trying to do. We'll come play some guitar at the house. I'll show you some stuff that I've got, and we'll hang out. Hit everybody with your socials where they can find Yeah Buddy Garage online.
Man, it's easy. It's all integrated at Yeah Buddy Garage on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, yeahbuddygarage.com, emails yeahbuddygarage@gmail.com. And I'm even on TikTok, but I don't really post there, man. I'm not a fan of TikTok.
They always mute my licensed music.
Yeah.
I hate that. I buy licensed music for videos, and I try to keep the same song for the reels and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And they always mute it.
Yeah.
So I'm not a TikTok guy.
Yeah,
I'm on there, but I don't use it that much.
I think it's for the younger kids.
Yeah, I guess we're too old.
Yeah.
Josh, I appreciate you coming, man.
Yeah, brother. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. I'll see you on the Tailgate tour.
Yeah, man. See you.
All right, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, buddy.